All right. Good afternoon, folks. How are we all doing today?
Super.
Super. All right. So, before we get into it, I'd like to do a little land acknowledgement. We are on the unceded territory of the Ganyagahagan people of the First Nation, one of the First Nations of Turtle Island, and I always like to kind of think a little about the land that was someone else's before we came here, and also we are getting into the topic of health today. I think it's important for me to mention I am not a doctor. I am not here to prescribe or diagnose any such things. I have no medical background and I will never pertain to having such. When it comes to the purpose of this workshop, it's here to inform and educate. And then it's up to you folk to take that information that I share along with your doctor or whoever else you listen to when it comes to things regarding health and make your own decisions. I'm here to kind of empower your decisions to be a little bit more informed. And we're going to get into some remedies this afternoon. We are going to talk about, first of all, like common winter ailments and then some herbs that can help out with that. And then we're going to get into making a sore throat spray. And if we have time, we're going to make a bath salt as well. To kind of look after your body. So, let's see. What are some common winter ailments that we have? You can just popcorn style.
The sniffles.
The sniffles. Okay, so we're talking runny nose. What else? Sorry? The flu, right? So what are some of the symptoms of the flu? How do you know you got the flu? Like, what are some of the symptoms? Yep.
Okay.
Fever, one. Yeah. You're hot. Okay. Then you're cold. Then you're hot again. Yeah. You might start sweating or shaking. What are some? A cough, perhaps. Yeah. That can sometimes happen with the flu. I'm thinking like achy bones, like sore muscles. That's the flu was once known as breakbone fever. Yeah. Pretty intense, I know, but way back a few hundred years. Any other symptoms of the flu? Watery eyes, right? Your sinuses get blocked up, yeah. Sometimes folks might get ear infections too, like they're all related. That's good. Okay, so we got the sniffles, we've got the flu, whatever winter ailments might folks endure. A cold. Okay, so what are some of the symptoms of a cold? Coughing. A lot of the time, folks get a sore throat. Yeah. Potentially a fever too. Yeah. That's good. Okay. Any other winter ailments? I think flus and colds are really the most common ones. Now, let's just kind of dive into this because it's important to know that there are antibacterial herbs and there are antiviral herbs. Now, which one with the flu is a virus and which one out of a flu or a cold, which one is a virus and which one is a bacteria? Flu is a virus. Cold is a bacteria. Now, a lot of the time when you're sick with the flu, you may get a bacterial infection at the same time. Generally, your sore throats are, unless you're dealing with glandular fever, which is viral. That's why your throat kind of swells up and you get really sore tonsils. Unless you're dealing with glandular fever, like generally sore throats are a bacterial thing. So like the flu doesn't actually give you a sore throat, but because your immune system's low, you're already fighting an infection, bacteria can sometimes move in and start other kind of problems that go on top of that. Okay, so it's important, to understand what we're dealing with in order to choose the right plants. Because if I choose an antiviral herb, for example, and I've got a cold, it's not really going to help, right? Because it's a bacterial thing that's going on here. Today, we're really focusing on bacterial things. There are quite a lot of flu things out there, but we can't do it all. You know, like the antibacterials we have in this garden are quite numerous. So I'd like to we do have a handful of antivirals as well, but especially with like the current situation and everything like that, I do want to kind of emphasize that, you know, there are some plants that can help with viruses, but certainly dealing with modern medicine is always advised as well. We are not preaching any like replacements. These are complements here. Okay, so let's get into some. I'm going to choose 3 herbs just to focus on, mostly because A, they're abundant in our garden, B, you got to start small, and C, we have already transformed these. We have already turned them into remedies. So the first one I'm going to talk about right here, this is orange mint. It's also known as a Manader or bergamot. And I'm going to pass this around so folks can have a smell. And we have turned this into an infused vinegar. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But essentially, all of your mints here have antibacterial properties. And if you were to taste one of these leaves, it's going to be quite spicy, like almost peppery. And the idea is that the spiciness is actually the antibacterial properties. There's particular oils in there that help fight bacteria, and your tongue is actually able to taste them. So this basically like, has anyone ever like bitten into thyme before, and it's like really got a real strong kind of thymy flavor, and it's almost a little bit peppery on your tongue? It's a similar kind of thing. If you haven't, no worries, we've got some strong thyme around here if you want to have a taste later on. So this is an orange mint here. We could have used any mint, but this is one that I figured had a pretty interesting flavor to begin with. And what we did with this was on the 30th of July, we had another workshop here on making transformations. And this was fresh orange mint, chopped up and added to apple cider vinegar. The idea being that apple cider vinegar is a way that we transform herbs to extract their properties. Hi there. And apple cider vinegar in itself is an antibacterial agent. Has anyone ever used apple cider vinegar for cleaning? That's like, because it's good for fighting off bacteria. And by adding an antibacterial herb to our vinegar, we are essentially doubling up the strength of our antibacterial potential. Now let's see, can we do some tasters here? So I have this little syringe here, and ideally, oh yeah, that's not going to work. Oh yeah, that's pretty strong. It's so this is going to be one of the components in our sore throat spray. Next, we have the next herb. So I'm talking about 3 herbs only today. This plant right here, this is our holy basil. It's also known as tulsi. En français, c'est basilic sacré. Ou tulsi, c'est vraiment la même chose. Puis, holy basil is again in the mint family. So these are distant relatives. Holy basil has a very nice flavor. I'm going to pass this around. If you want to eat a leaf, you're more than welcome. And essentially, holy basil is known to have a really good affinity for the lungs. And this is traditionally grown in India and Nepal, in Hindu countries. It's considered a reincarnation of their gods. This is Rama Tulsi, there's a Vishnu Tulsi, a Brahma Tulsi, and it's like a very important plant for them. And we've already made a tea out of this. Like it's brewing at the moment, it's a hot tea that can go into our sore throat spray. So we can get some of the properties out of the holy basil that are particularly good for helping open the airways and reduce coughing. And they'll even, in India, you can buy cigarettes that have tulsi wrapped up in them as an idea of like having a more medicinal cigarette. Yeah, so I'll pass this around. And if you want to eat a leaf, go for it. You're more than welcome. There's enough on this one. And we'll maybe have a little taster of the tea later on. Now, the next plant I'm going to talk about is, it's quite a rare plant, but you know, I'm here and I like to bring my goodies with me. So this is a herb called Spalanthis. It's en français, c'est cresson du Brésil. I don't know what is the connection with Brazil, but that's what it is. And this herb is probably the main medicinal herb that we have going on. Does anyone want to be a guinea pig? Did we try this on the walking tour already?
Yeah.
So you three know what it does. Do you feel brave? Do you want to try it for yourselves?
Do you want to try it?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Now, the flower is the
Every time she comes, she has it.
the flower is the strongest part. The leaf is milder. What do you wish to try?
Is it safe? Like,
Yes.
You
Yes.
did it.
It is
Go with
safe.
the flower, I'll
Okay.
go hard.
Here you go.
So I can swallow.
Just
right?
chew on it and wait a few moments, and then we'll ask you how you're doing. So right here, this is Spalanthis chopped up and put into vodka. I'll check in with you in a short while. So vodka, like our apple cider vinegar, it's another way of extracting properties from plants. Alcohol is particularly good in getting into the chemistry a little bit here. There's hydrophobic and hydrophilic constituents in a plant, those that love water and those that don't. And alcohol is particularly good at dissolving hydrophobic components of a plant. So think oils and resins that don't necessarily dissolve in water. Alcohol is very good at getting in there and dissolving them. And then because it's 50% vodka, there's also water in here. Water, we get all the hydrophilic components of the plant. So we're really getting more than if we just made a tea or just made a vinegar. So how are you doing? Do you need to spit? Yeah, go ahead and spit if you need to. That is part of the effect. So, Spalanthis is known as a saliagogue. It promotes saliva production. Tingly, numbing. Yeah. So basically, it's pretty odd, folks. The kind of a Szechuan pepper is similar to the feeling, like a very numbing, intense experience, or the pop rocks, like the candy that sizzles on your tongue. This is how Spalanthis kind of feels. It's an East Indian toothache herb. So essentially, when you have an infection, you can chew up Spalanthis, pack it around the tooth, and then saliva will help wash the tooth, and it's got an analgesic property, so it numbs the area. And then there's also antibacterial and antiviral components to Spalanthis. Now, like a lot of people ask, well, what do you do, when your garden, it's the middle of winter, how do you use plants? This is how we do it in this vodka here. Now, do you feel the tingling on your tongue? This is the kind of main, I've not heard of Spalanthis being used in sore throat sprays. Actually, that's a lie. I did see there's in one of the pharmacies here, I was reading the bottle, and there is a Spalanthis extract put in one of the sore throat sprays. So essentially, in vodka, this allows us to put it in a spray that gets right to the back of the throat. Spalanthis is like my go-to. Here is one I made last year, and this has saved me many times. If I'm in the middle of having a conversation or giving a workshop and I feel that beginning tickle, I'll know to reach for this, and I'll use this. You can't really, with the amount we're making here, this is a 50 ml bottle, you can't really overdo it. I've used my sore throat spray up to every 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes when I've really been in need and I got a sore throat and I still got to teach, I'll just use it in between. And yeah, we can't, there is, Spalanthis is a strong herb. If you were using this every day for 6 months in the wintertime, I wouldn't recommend it. It's something that you need in the moment for 2-3 days at a time. If you have a sore throat that lasts longer than that, then maybe there's something else going on that you need to talk to your doctor about, or something along those lines. Now, the last component that we're going to put in our throat spray is good old-fashioned honey. So I brought in 2 choices of honey because the first one, this is one that we made with garlic that we grew in our garden. This is honey with chopped up garlic put inside. Does anyone know medicinal properties of garlic?
Well, I've heard like people take it
Mm.
like, when they're sick and it's great for them, but I don't really know.
Okay, yeah,
I
it's
don't know why.
okay. So it's a remedy. A remedy for what? This is the question.
Is it antibacterial?
It is an
somehow?
antibacterial. It is a very powerful antibacterial herb. So, and it's also got something to do with cholesterol, blood pressure. Like some folks eat a lot of garlic for that reason. But garlic, all of your alliums, which your allium family, or your chives, your onions, your leeks, your garlics, they've all got some antibacterial properties. It's why when you see like mold start growing on your garlic, you know it's time to throw it away. You don't want to just chop that off and use the rest. It's like really old because it's a particularly powerful herb, and if it starts going bad, then you know like that's a strong bacteria that's there. So essentially, honey as well has some pretty good medicinal effects. Anyone know medicinal properties of honey?
Soothing.
It's soothing. Okay, we have a fancy word for this in herbal medicine. It's called an emollient. An emollient is something that coats and soothes tissues. So by putting this in our throat spray, we're allowing like the liquid around there to kind of really coat everything and help soothe it at the same time. And so by mixing the two, we have an antibacterial emollient. And honey is as well a little bit antiseptic. Like you can put it on wounds and burns and things like this. So we've made an extra strong one here. I brought in, like not everyone wants a sore throat spray that tastes like garlic. I understood that. So I have here another little honey, which is infused with pine resin, I believe. So the idea is that resin on trees, you probably see, we don't have many conifers around here, but sometimes you'll see like it looks like a big lump of wax on the side of a tree. This is the resin. What is the function of resin on a tree? Like, why is it there? How does it get there? Like, what happened to the tree?
It's like oozing out of the tree.
It's oozing out of the tree, yeah. Sorry?
No, I don't
Okay.
see what it-
Okay. So when do we see resin coming out of a tree?
When you cut a branch.
When you cut a branch. Okay, so essentially, this is the tree's way of A, protecting, and B, healing itself. If I took an axe and chopped into the side of a conifer, there's going to be, a week later, there's going to be a thick layer of resin that's oozed out of the plant. So what are some of the things that might try and attack the tree? Bugs, for sure. Birds, yes. Fungus and bacteria. Like trees can catch colds too, and there's viral infections that can affect trees as well. So essentially, it's like the way to imagine resin is like a blood clot. You know, when you cut yourself and then it scabs over, that's what resin does. It kind of heals the wound and helps the plant. Plants never heal, but what they do is they kind of kill the wood around the wounds, and then it carries on growing around that wound. Which is why you will see like trees that have like big lumps on the side. It means that there's a bacteria in there that the tree's trying to just grow around. And so resin, this was heated up and put into honey, and resin has a lot of nice antibacterial properties as well. If you're ever suffering in the middle of a forest, in the middle of winter, you can just take a big old lump of resin off a tree and chew it like gum. Keep in mind that some of them will stick to your teeth. I've had that experience where I've just had like resin in my teeth for like 6 hours. And then others, they're perfect, just like a gum that you can chew over and over again. Don't ask me how do you know which one just sticks to your teeth and which one turns into gum. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But start slowly, and you can try experimenting for yourself. Resins are pretty harmless in small quantities. So these are the 4 ingredients: a tea, a vinegar, a tincture, and some honey that we're putting into our spray bottles. Now, these are 50 mils, and then we have syringes here that go up to 10 mils. So what you want to keep in mind, like you saw how I reacted to the vinegar, my throat tightened up, it's kind of hard to speak. That's not necessarily something we want in a throat spray, right? So going easy on the vinegar is a good recommendation. Similarly, you know, you don't want to have a full-blown Spalanthis effect going on. So what I would recommend is generally what I like to do, and I think I'll make one here, and then maybe folks can spray it on the back of their hand and they can have a taste. Could I get the tea? Thank you. And let's see, how are we gonna, yeah, okay, we'll figure it out. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to make my own recipe here, just on the fly. I've made quite a few sore throat sprays for other people in the past. Oh yeah, and that's something that we're going to do as well. So we're going to strain these and clean them in a bit too. Super, thank you. And oh yeah, I have a little paper cup. That's good. Okay, so this is 15. I'm going to start with like, so it's a 50 ml bottle. So this is 20 mils of Spalanthis tincture in here. So we're like 40% Spalanthis. I'm going to add, say, 10% vinegar, I think. Now keep in mind the vodka we use is pretty strong vodka. It's 50% stuff. So adding a bit of tea or some other liquid to kind of make your throat spray not like, you know, put you over the driving limit or something like this. It is recommended. Now let's get a cup here for the tea. So I'm going to put some tea in here, and essentially the honey. Do I want to try a vinegar one or the other one? Garlic. Sorry, garlic or pine. What shall I go with? Garlic. All right, let's go for the garlic. So basically, this garlic is actually pretty gooey. So this one is pretty solid. So what I would do with this one is scoop it out, melt it into the tea, and then pour it in. Whereas this one, I think I can get away with probably using a syringe here. And we'll keep one for, is it gonna work? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's coming. So that's 2 mils there.
During and after.
Yeah. Okay. Try not to get lumps of garlic. There we go. Okay, so that's about 5 mils of honey in there. And we'll keep that one together. That'll be the honey syringe. Now I'm going to go with the rest of tea. It's 10 mils. And then probably just 5 more. Voila! So that's 15 mils of tea. Now, the honey's probably all floated to the bottom, so it's important to give your spray a good shake. And I do have a A4 sheet of sticky label paper here, so you can write what you put on your label. So in here we have 5 mils of honey, 15 mils of tea, 10 mils of vinegar, 20 mils of Spalanthis. Does that make 50? I think so. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, it's pretty garlicky.
Does the sap have a taste?
It does. It's a few years old, so I don't think it's too strong anymore. If you want to give people a spray on the back of their hand there. But it's pretty good. And I don't think, you know, like, I don't think your date would be too worried if you use your garlic spray here.
Oh, I put a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I sprayed all your hand.
And
I taste like chicken.
tastes like chicken.
I taste
Yeah.
So that's essentially it. Now we have kind of one step to do before I can just like let you all go off and do your things. Essentially, we need to work on like separating the plant material from the vinegar. So what this involves is we have a little sieve here, and what we're going to do is, can I get two volunteers? One can come over here and one can come over here who'd like to get their hands a little bit messy.
Sure. Do you want us to wash our hands again since we've been licking them?
Good idea. Very good idea.
I can do it.
Super.
Donc en fait, ce pour les teintures, c'est avec de l'alcool qu'on les
Oui.
prépare.
Avec les plantes fraîches coupées, ajouter du vodka, puis voilà.
Ok.
Après 6 semaines,
Il faut
non,
macérer justement pendant.
un mois et demi, c'est comme le maximum. Mais tu peux le laisser pour comme 6 mois, 6 années,
Ah ouais,
ça va être bon dans le vodka. Ouais. On a fait un atelier déjà sur les transformations avec la tincture. Et bientôt, on va ajouter une petite vidéo qui explique comment faire la transformation. This is really like part 1, we made everything, and part 2, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we got clean hands.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Super. So what we're going to do is you're going to work on the vinegar here. You're going to work on the Spalanthis. That's the only two we're really working on today. So you're going to be using your hands. So basically like schlucking out a good handful, squeezing, and then this is your compost bucket here. Okay. Now we can use the plant material for teas and things, but we're just going to compost it because it's okay. And then don't worry about getting little bits of leaf at the end. You're going to strain everything back through here, and then we're going to keep just the liquid. Yeah, don't be afraid to get in there and dig it out. Give it a good squeeze. Normally I work with a cheesecloth, and you like give it a good squeeze, but this will work just fine as well. If you want to use it straight away, you can.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
Yeah, that's okay.
Seems like the majority of it.
Great. Okay. So now the next step is to exactly get little bit by little, take it out, give it a good squeeze, and then throw it into our compost bucket here. Okay. Bon, donc let's give these out to everybody here. Voilà. One for you. I'm gonna pause this now.